Adnam's Broadside, Theakston's Old Peculier. Which one's the best?
And remember, life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. Bit of a different one here today. Just did the weekly shop in Morrison's and bought a selection of beers. Quite a good selection they've got down there, quite impressive. Picked up two old favourites, which I always do. Adnam's Broadside, Theakston's Old Peculier, both great beers. Never compared the two, and I was sitting here in a bit of a quandary thinking, which one shall I have first? And I thought, do you know what? Let's do a comparison video. So here we are. By the way, before we get on to that, I think I've possibly just bought the shittiest bottle of beer ever. And this is Courage. This is the Courage Best Bitter, and I bought it from round the corner. And of course this is a Marston's beer. It was never great to start off with. Certainly not in the bottles. On cask, maybe it was passable, but yeah, this is out of date, 31st of October 2021. So I may, if you really want to see me have a rant, try some out of date beer from Marston's. Why do I do that? For fuck's sake. Anyway, enough about that shit. Let's get on to this. Now, these are two of my favourite beers. You've probably tried them as well. If you watch this channel and you like your English beers, these two are absolute stalwarts of English brewing. Now, both of them are quite widely available, so you shouldn't have problems getting these. Most supermarkets do them. If they do one, they may do the other and vice versa. But Old Peculier I've seen in Tesco's, I've seen it in Asda's, I've seen it in Morrison's. It's a really popular beer. And rightly so, because it tastes absolutely gorgeous. It is the flagship beer from the Theakston Brewery. You know, Theakston do some good beers, but this is, and they've called it the Legend, and it is a bit of a legendary beer because even when I was a kid, Old Peculier was one of them beers that everybody knew that people who drank, well back then, people who drank real ale and them old English styles of beers, they were a bit weird, and Old Peculier just summed it up. That name summed it up. The other one was Bishop's Finger. They were the two that really stood out when I was like an early teenager. Didn't drink them at that age. I've only been drinking ales. Oh, blimey. When did I start doing that? That would have been about in my 20s when I'd got over my lager phase. I still love lager though. The other one, of course, is the Adnam's Broadside. Very popular. See it quite a lot on in the Witherspoons on draft. It's not the same beer. This is 6% or 6.3% even, and it's lower ABV when it's on cask. So what you get in the bottle is different to what you get on cask, but they both taste absolutely amazing. But what these two have got in common, and it's what I like about English brewing as well. Shepherd Neame do it too, and they do it really well. But these two breweries make great use of invert sugar or brewing sugar, and in their dark beers, you really can taste that they know what they're doing when it comes to brewing beer. Adnam's especially. I mean, they're just superb. I don't think I've had a bad beer from Adnam's at all. They've been really good. Apparently they do a lager. I've not tried the lager. I'll have to try that, see what that's like. But again, I always say lager is the Achilles heel of English brewers. It's rare that you get an English brewer that does a really good lager. And I wonder if Adnam's do it. I should check that out really, because they do some quite good beers, and I imagine their lager should be up there as well. But I'll have to save that for another day, because today I'm just going to be comparing these two. Now, these beers are, as I say, they're two of my favourite beers, two of my favourite English beers, and they are in the style of an old ale. If you're not sure what an old ale is, it's how beer was served originally. Very malty, not much hop flavour or hop character on it, and it would age and mature in a barrel at the public house or the inn where it was being sold. Back then, and I'm talking sort of turn of the 19th century, the breweries didn't mature the beer on their property. It was just given to the landlord very, very fresh, and the landlord would let it mature as to how long he saw fit. Now, you could get blends of these as well. You could get what was called stale. It didn't have the same connotations as stale, or the word stale has now. It just meant it was matured for longer. But people would mix them, so you would blend them. So you'd get fresh beers or fresh beer, and you'd maybe mix it with two-thirds of a stale, and any combination of either. So you could have two fresh, one stale, etc. That's how random the beer was. And then of course hops became popular, and the IPA styles and the hoppy beers came into the fore, and this style died out slightly. Now, of course, you do have porter and you have stouts and stuff like that, which are in the same sort of vein and were around at the same sort of time. But this old ale is sort of unique to the United Kingdom, possibly Germany as well. Germany had their own version of it. But the bottom line was, it was all about the malt. It tasted very malt forward. When I say hops became popular, I'm not talking about the American style hops. It would have been English Fuggles and them type of old school English hops that would have been put into IPAs and pale ales, which became more prevalent at the time of the Napoleonic Wars, when there was a limited amount of malt available, so beers became lighter. They weren't as malt heavy, and old ale sort of died out from there. It never really came back into fashion, certainly not as popular as it was. And if people were drinking dark beers, it would have been either a stout, a porter, or some kind of ruby ale. I'm talking sort of 20th century now. So old ale is one of these beers or beer styles that has gone out of fashion, but it's a real shame. But these two beers, in my opinion, are keeping them alive. Now, there are other breweries in the United Kingdom that do old ale style beers. Harvey's doing just called Harvey's Old, and that's absolutely amazing. And I've found out that a lot of American craft brewers now, they're doing an old ale style, and you can tell their versions of old ale, as they always have old in the name of the beer, as this does here, Old Peculier. Just in case you're wondering about Peculier, a Peculier isn't, or it doesn't mean it's strange. A Peculier at the time, or where this takes its name from, it was a church that wasn't aligned to any diocese, so it would be basically an independent church, and you would have there was a Peculier of Massam, which is where this brewery is based in. This lot have been going since 1827, and this lot 1872. But that's why Old Peculier gets its name from. The Broadside gets its name from a sea battle that took place in 1672, way before the brewery was founded, 200 years before the brewery was founded, in the Battle of Sole Bay, and there was basically a big naval battle there. I think it was it Francis Drake or someone? Not quite sure. One of them lot kicking arse as they did back in the day. Anyway, that's enough about that. Let's get on to these beers. Right, before we do, let's have a quick rundown of the Adnam's Broadside. Now, there's not much on the brew sheet here. It just says it's brewed with pale malt, and it has first gold hops, which are quite nice actually. I've tasted quite a few good beers that have that in there. I'm just looking to see what they're putting in the ingredients, whether they mention if this is all in foreign, isn't it? Bloody hell. Is it in German? Would they drink that in Germany? I imagine they would. It's in Spanish, I know that. A dark ruby red beer, rich in fruitcake flavours with a wonderful balance of malt and hop flavours. Again, that goes against what I was saying earlier about the hops in old ale. That's what basically killed off old ale. It was people were getting a taste for hoppy style beers. So, and with the reduction in the malt bill, you would get lighter coloured beers, lighter hoppy beers, and they just became popular. And of course, the rest is history. Hence the reason this has sort of died out. I think it's making a comeback though. I'm just looking to see. I cannot get. It's got caramel on it, or corn malt. I don't know. That's malted barley. That is. They haven't got the ingredients in English. What the fuck? Anyway, 6.3%, 500ml bottle. There is the label, as if you needed to see it. I'm sure you've seen that before. There is ye oldie cap. Adnam's from Southwold. Southwold, of course, is in Suffolk, on the east coast of the United Kingdom. In fact, that's right near the coast as well. And this stuff, unpasteurised and cold filtered, to protect the totally unique flavour of our beer. Well, there you go. This is 5.6%, so it's a little bit lower in the ABV than the Broadside, which is 6.3. There is the legendary label that you get on there, black and gold, my favourite colours. Hence the reason I've got a BC Rich hanging up there with black and gold. Well, it did have black and gold harder. I've changed it for all black now. But this stuff, what's it got on here? It's got everything. Contains barley and wheat. Do you know, that's really annoying. I really wish brewers would put the brew sheet on the side and just all the ingredients. That would just be so much easier. I don't know why they don't do it. If you look at some of the foodstuffs that you eat, and it lists everything that you get in the food. Mind you, that would probably put a lot of people off if they had to list everything. I mean, if people saw the word brewing sugar and stabilisers and whatnot, which I'm sure it contains, then that may put them off slightly. Anyway, but this stuff, it contains 3 hops. You've got your Challenger hop in here, which is a perfect hop for English dark beers. They use it a lot in bitter as well. Real nice hoppy flavour from that. And then you've got Target, and then you've got Fuggles as well. Again, 2 other classic English style hops. And from memory, the hops don't really stand out too much in this. So I'm wondering why there's 3 different types of hops. But I've never compared the 2. My abiding memory of these 2, well, I drink it quite regularly, it's just the malt. This is all about the malt in these 2, and the sugar as well. There is a nice sweet flavour to this. And I think these 2 and Shepherd Neame are the 3 brews. Sam Smith's as well. I will say Sam Smith's get it right when it comes to using brewing sugar, because you can make a beer taste really disgusting if you don't use it right. And unfortunately, some of these craft brewers have. Anyway, let's get them open. Let's see what's going on. Right, let's get the Broadside open first. And I will put that in my London Pride glass. So Broadside is going in London Pride. Yeah, these are both dark beers. They call this a ruby beer, but from memory, yeah, it's really dark. It's like that Guinness dark. I mean, if I show you that does look very dark indeed. But the aromas from that, absolutely gorgeous. Right, let's fill out half of it. Now let's get the Folkestones or Peculier from the People's Republic of Yorkshire. That's not going to fizz up, is it? There's the cap, very understated cap. I love that. The more you know, the less you need to show, as the old philosopher said, and ain't that the truth? You look at some of the fucking shit these craft brewers are putting on their cans, and you just think, what the fuck are you playing at? Anyway, there's that. They just taste and smell absolutely fucking amazing. Right, let me pour a little bit more of that out and let that fizz die down. Now look at that. That looks like an absolutely gorgeous pint. It really does look good. Oh, and it smells absolutely amazing. Big malt character on that. And a little bit of the hop character coming through on there as well. I'm getting some very, very slight herbal, grassy type notes on that. But this is all about the malt. That rich, fruity, sweet malt. And of course this is at room temperature, both of them are. I haven't put them in the fridge. This is, and it's quite cold in this room at the moment. It's January. No, it's not. It's the 1st of February, and it's quite cold out there. So the ambient temperature in the room is actually chilling this up a little bit, I'd imagine. Right, this is the old Peculier. Oh, fuck me, that is even nicer. That's just massive fruit on that. It's like blueberries. It's like sweet biscuit and blueberries, if you can imagine that. Oh, it smells absolutely fucking gorgeous. None of these are bottle conditioned. These have been filtered. Well, this one says it's been cold filtered, but it's not pasteurised. But there it is. That is a real dark ruby. I can see. I don't know whether I can show you that or not. But yeah, there is some very dark colours going on in there indeed. Dark ruby colours. And if you notice between the two, I'll just put them up there. They're very similar. However, Old Peculiar's got a slightly darker head, slightly more beige colour. This has got a whiter head on it. But there's not much in it. They're very similar looking, hence the reason I'm comparing the two. I think it's a fair comparison doing these two. They're very similar in appearance, in ABV, and in style as well. From two great old English brewers. Right, there's the two of them filled out. Well, there's more chocolatey aromas on there. Chocolate, and there's like a grassy, very grassy herbal note. And I was drinking some Spitfire last night, and I was getting that. The Spitfire is really strong. If you ever have a pint of Spitfire, you'll really get some strong hoppy notes, leafy, hoppy English hops in the aroma. And I'm getting that very subtly on this, but there's a little bit more chocolate, biscuit and chocolate with some fruit, and it smells fucking gorgeous. And to be honest, the aroma on this has died down a little bit. It's still there though. I can still get some of that malt, that sweet raisin and biscuit malt. Well, let's get him down the hatch. Bottoms up, this is the Adnams. Oh, it's lovely. That is lovely. Now, I normally drink this chilled. It's the first time I've drunk it at room temperature. So it's just an onslaught of flavour. Quite complex too. So, big caramel, big chocolate. They're the two dominant flavours. There's a sweetness to it too, and I'm almost certain that's coming from some type of invert sugar. And that seam runs all the way through. There is a bitterness to it, however. A nice hot bitterness. Quite grassy, leafy style English hop bitterness, if you know what I mean. And that'll be coming from them First Gold hops. And I do remember First Gold in the Yorkshire pudding. I can't remember the name of the brewery now. And I've just started following them on Instagram as well. Fucking idiot. Can't remember. Begins with an M. But they're bitter. Well, it was the Yorkshire pudding ale. It's fucking lovely. But I do remember it having that nice bitter finish on it. And I thought they were Challenger hops, but the brewery actually got in touch with me after the review and said they're using First Gold. So, good choice. And you can really get that nice bitterness on the finish. Oh, that's so good. That's really nice. Full of character. And if you look at the head, that's still there, 6.3, and it's still there. Finely matched bubbles, nice lacing, a little bit of lacing on the side. Absolutely gorgeous. Right, let's get on to the Old Peculier. Ew, bagum. And that's good too. I will say there's a little bit more sweetness in that, a little bit more carbonation in there too. There's more of a caramel malt backbone on this with dark fruit, and again that sweet seam running through it from the invert sugar that's in this. But they're very, very similar in taste. However, there are subtle differences. Old Peculier, despite having 3 hop varieties in this beer, the hops don't really stand out. Not for me anyway. Not compared to the Broadside. The Broadside, single hop, and that just really does dominate the finish on there. And I like that. But on the palate, the initial mouthful, very, very similar between the two. Lots of malt on there. Lots of invert sugar, well, a seam of invert sugar running through it. Lots of fruit, lots of dark fruit in there as well. And as they say, yep, if you can imagine a very moist Christmas cake, it's them style of flavours. You know, like where you've got the roasted raisins, dark cherries, that type of thing. That's the sort of dominant flavour that you're getting from both of them. Hasn't got that bitter finish, which may be agreeable to certain people if you're not a fan of that English hop bitterness. But this has definitely got some character. Oh, that's lovely. And I think even coming out now, there's a little bit of aniseed type flavour in there. Very, very subtle, but I can get that in the Broadside. It's lovely. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now, I've had both of these on draft, or on cask, whatever you want to call it. What I do remember about the Old Peculier, there was a lot of ethanol on the cask version. I'm not sure whether the ABV was different on there or not, but it was really dominant and you really did get that all the way through it. I don't mind that, but I could see that putting a lot of people off. The Broadside on cask, I did think it was a little bit weak, but compared to the bottle, I didn't think it was as full-bodied. Not bad, don't get me wrong, but if it came between the bottle and cask, and don't get me wrong, I haven't had it on cask for a couple of years at least because of COVID and all that. I think I would prefer the bottle. That's probably because I've only been drinking the bottle all through lockdown. This is good though, but it has got a little bit more hop character. There's a little bitterness on this one as opposed to this one, which is much smoother because of that invert sugar. Wow, that invert sugar, it really does leave a sweet taste on your mouth. Now, it's not Belgian type invert sugar, not that kind of sweetness, but when you get it in English beers, it's a nice balance because you do get them bitter English hops and they've been boiled, so you do get a bitter flavour, certainly from that. Not so much this. This is a lot smoother. Smoother, slightly sweeter, no hop finish. If anything, there's a malty finish, like a caramel malt finish on it as well. But I have to say, they are both absolutely superb, and I would have no problem drinking either of these. If one wasn't available, I would immediately go to the other and vice versa. So there's no preference here at all. They are two outstanding English beers in my opinion, and as I always say, this is what we do best. This is where we excel. I don't think any country, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, I'll say Belgium, I will say Germany. Fuck France, they're lost. They can't brew. Same with the Spanish, same with the Italians. Not good. I saw, by the way, I was in Morrison's today actually when I was buying these, and there was a woman, and she was, you know that shit that I reviewed years ago from France, that Lagudale, they sell it in there. She was cleaning out the fucking shelves. She was filling it, and I'm thinking, do I say something to her? No, that's one thing I'll never do. I'll never try and put my opinions across to someone who's buying stuff in a supermarket unless they ask, and then I will put them on the right track. I remember that woman was buying, she didn't even know what she was buying. She was buying Dunbar for her husband. She's calling it Dunbar. And I really wanted to say, for fuck's sake, don't buy him that. He'll hate you for that. But yeah, she bought him. And of course, it's all about personal taste. For me, this is what we do best. Now, don't get me wrong, we do bitters, we do ales, you know, we do really good IPAs as well. But for me, this is my thing. This is what I'm into. Do you know what? I really am dreading the next section because I don't think I'm going to be able to separate the two. But they're both absolutely gorgeous. So, what is the verdict on these two? Well, on their own strengths, these are two absolutely outstanding beers. And that's no mean feat when you realise how popular and how easily available they are. It's testimony to the consistency of the brewers, because Adnam's Broadside has tasted good for years, and our Peculier has tasted good for years too. To try and separate them is difficult, because even though they are the same style and they share a lot in common, there are subtle differences. Now, this won't be for everyone. If you're into your American style IPAs, if you're into your lagers, if you're into your lighter coloured beers, you're probably not going to like this. However, if you like flavoursome beers, if you like bitters, if you like English ales, you don't need to watch this video, because I guarantee you, if you are, you know about these two and you know how good they are. And are there two better beers in this style, the sort of old ale style, in bottles? These are just two great beers, and when I say great, I do mean great. And you know, these are, well, here's one for you, the Tint Meadow stuff. Tint Meadow, that's they call it an English Trappist ale, but it's very much in the old ale style as well. There's, again, they've got the sugar in there, they've got the hops in there too, the English hops, and obviously the yeast plays a massive part in these two. These use a twin strain yeast in theirs. And here's little Bob. What do you want, Bob? Come on, come up. He doesn't hog the limelight as much as Percy, but he's a good little dog. He is. He's my little doorbell. Whenever the postman rings, he reminds me there's someone at the door, and he comes across as a very fucking nasty little git. That's Percy barking down here. I don't know what he's moaning about, but he gives it the big one. I'd love to know what they're saying when dogs bark out the window at people. They're probably saying, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. Anyway, let's get back to the beer. Bob, don't destroy my microphone. Come on in. If you're going to sit up here, right? Nah, he don't like the beers. What do you think of that, Bob? No, he doesn't like it. Really doesn't like it. I really don't know if I'm going to be able to separate the two, because they are absolutely fantastic beers. I'm leaning towards the Broadside for the simple reason it's got the hop character, and considering there's only one style of hop, aye, Bob's back. He wants his dinner, don't you, mate? Get out of it, you. I think that for me is swaying it. There's a little bit more hop character on this. and that's nice. But please don't think I'm in any way deriding this beer, because this is absolutely superb stuff. Again, even more flavours coming out now. Some nice roasted malt, very subtle roasted malt on that. Oh, this is really tough. And I can't cop out and say, well, I just can't separate them, so I have to make a decision. But this is going to be so close. Now, when I talk about wheat beers, and I talk about the German wheat beers, and I'm talking about Weihenstephaner and Schneiderweiss, who makes the best, it's another one of them moments, because it is going to be a gnat's pube difference between the two, because they are two 10 out of 10 beers all day long. Really good beers. Bob, will you let me review this beer? Get out of it, you. I'll get you dinner in a minute, mate, alright? I've really... Oh. I'm going to make a commitment, and I'm going to say I'm going to just give it to the Adnam's Broadside, for the simple reason there's 3 hops in here, and I'm really not getting much of that hop character in there. But to counteract that, Old Ale really isn't supposed to have hop forward flavours or even hops in it, so why put 3 hops in there anyway? I don't know. Oh, these are just 2 good, really good beers though. In fact, they're more than just good, they're excellent. And again, there's roast malts coming out on there now as well. I just can't separate them. But I'm going to have to make a decision. Oh, this is agonising. But I think I'm going to give it to the Adnam's Broadside. And that really is a fucking gnat's chuff. Ask me on another day, and I'll probably say it's Old Peculier. But they're two outstanding beers. And if you don't take anything away from this, then just take one thing. These are 2 excellent beers. And if you've never tried that style before, I urge you to try it, because the flavours will bowl you over. I keep labouring the point about the English, what we do best. I think we've sort of lost our way a little bit. We're not sure. We're trying to do craft beer. We're trying, you know, the home of the IPA is trying to brew more American style IPAs than they are English style IPAs. Why, I do not fucking know. So yeah, I'm hoping to blow the trumpet for English style beers, even though I do review a lot of German and I review a lot of Belgian and Czech beers on my channel. I do like to promote English brewers, but if they do brew a shit beer, I will tell you. But on this occasion, it's the exact opposite. They are 2 absolutely outstanding beers, as if I haven't said that already. For me, the Broadside today, the Broadside shades it. Maybe on another day, Old Peculier will do it. But for me, I'm feeling the Broadside today. Sounds a bit fucking wrong, doesn't it? But there you go. If you've got a fucking 5-year-old mentality like I have, that's lovely. But they're 2 great beers, really are. Lovely use of invert sugar as well. Really restrained, just the right amount to make this beer moreish, and yeah, it's just amazing. The 2 of them, fantastic beers, consistently good as well. None of your small batch nonsense. This is properly brewed on a big scale, widely available, consistently good. Well, there you go. That's what these 2 do best. But for me today, Adnams, you are the winners. Theakstons, no disrespect. I know you come from the People's Republic of Yorkshire, but that's got nothing to do with it. I'm just feeling this beer today. Maybe another time it will be you. But needless to say, these 2 are 10 out of 10. But needless to say, if you get either beer, you're onto an absolute winner. And I heartily recommend both of them. And remember, just like these 2, beer is working class champagne.
What the fuck is going on? Hey? What's going on? Oh, you bastard.